Hi and welcome to this look at the 14-day weather prospects. Things are very unsettled at the moment, but as we head through the next week there are signs of a change. I'll start off by taking a look at the big picture across the North Atlantic and Europe. So here we are, this is today, Tuesday the 27th of October. The UK is slap bang in the middle of the chart. Now let's see what happens if I run the animation. So initially we've got low pressure out to the west, and as we go through the next few days, here we are Friday the 30th of October, by then we've got an area of high pressure centre to the south over continental Europe with fairly warm, mild upper level air pushing up across the UK. That's indicated by the yellow and orange shading, and we've got low pressure still centred to the northwest. So essentially it's a pretty unsettled picture still by this time. Now if I continue the animation, and we're heading here through the weekend. So we're now midnight on Sunday the 1st of November, and by then again we can still see that low pressure centred to the northwest, high pressure over continental Europe, with the UK, or much of the UK, under a mild southwesterly flow, and it certainly looks like we could see some high temperatures during the days this weekend in southern and central areas, perhaps recording something like 19 Celsius during drier and brighter spells. However, there is a potential for it to be very windy and wet at times. I'll come back to that in a moment. If I just resume the sequence and head through next week, what we can see is by next Wednesday, it's the yellows and oranges have been pushed away, and we've got an area of high pressure building northeastwards across the UK. We've got cooler air trapped underneath it. It's not particularly cold by any means, but there is an increase in risk during the second half of next week of frost and fog developing during the night with the calmer conditions that are associated with high pressure. So let me now focus on some of the specifics. If I jump across here to the actual individual GFS charts, this one is for 15 GMT on Sunday the 1st of November. The thing to highlight here is the potential for very strong winds. As I say, at this stage, the forecast details are somewhat uncertain, but we can see gusts of between 60 and 70 miles an hour being forecast in parts of western Britain and northern England. It is something to keep an eye on. There will be quite a lot of rain around too, although there is some uncertainty, as I say, and it may well be that parts of southeastern England, possibly even central England, remain drier and very mild during Sunday. The next thing I wanted to flag up was Bonfire Night. So I did mention that high pressure will be building next week, and it currently looks as though we could have a mainly dry and pretty cold Bonfire Night. I think that would be quite an unusual scenario in recent times, but it is looking a distinct possibility this year. The chart here shows forecast maximum temperatures for 9 GMT on Thursday the 5th of November, and you can see it's looking pretty cold in much of the country. We've got values dipping down towards 2 Celsius, 3 Celsius in western and northern areas. It's a little bit milder in central and eastern England. If I just skip ahead to the minimum temperature chart for the following morning, we can see that in places temperatures are forecast to dip below 0 Celsius. So there could well be quite a widespread frost at the beginning of Friday the 6th of November. So all in all, as I say, it does look like a pretty cold Bonfire Night at the moment. There's also a risk of fog developing, especially if people are having bonfires. So that's something else to be aware of. If I now bring up the 16-day GEFS plot to look slightly further ahead, here we go, and this is for London. I've annotated it to hopefully make it a little easier to interpret. On the upper half of the chart, we've got temperatures at the 850 HPA level. That's approximately 1,500 meters above sea level. You can see that in the short term, they're close to a 30-year average indicated by this black line. They then rise and it becomes pretty mild for several days this weekend and the early part of next week. Then they dip away, and by the 3rd of November we can see that they're forecast to be a little below the 30-year average for a couple of days before they make a gradual recovery and then stay close to the mean for the rest of the run. Now, the other thing to look at here is the rainfall forecasts shown on the lower part of the chart. You can see that in the short term there's a number of spikes appearing. They really continue through until about the 3rd of November. It then seems to be suggesting drier conditions lasting from the 3rd right until the end of the run, which is about the 11th of November. That's consistent with the forecast pattern for higher pressure to become established. So again, it's another factor which will probably increase the risk of some frosty and foggy nights, at least across the southern part of the UK. Now, if I jump up to Glasgow, see what's going on there in the northwest, here we go. We can see that the upper air temperatures are following pretty much a similar pattern. They rise for a time to be above the 30-year average, then they dip again. The dip's probably more marked than it is in the south. I think that's probably because during this period we're going to see high pressure starting to build in from the west, and we'll have probably a northwesterly flow for a time with the coldest upper level air in the northwest of the UK. They then recover, which, as I say, is very similar to the pattern that we saw for on the London plot. On the lower half of the chart, rainfall is unfortunately a lot more marked, and it seems to go on there between now and 3rd of November. There is also a signal for it to turn drier beyond the 3rd, although some rain spikes are still appearing, so that would suggest to me that in northwestern parts of the UK, high pressure will probably be having less influence than it is in southern and central areas as we go through the second week of November. So the risk of rain remains at least a little bit higher through that period. So to summarise, we start off with unsettled conditions in all parts of the UK. There's a risk of rain and gales, but it also is likely to turn a lot milder in the short term. Next week, cooler conditions return and high pressure begins to build, so that leads to an increase in likelihood of drier conditions, but with the long nights there will be a growing chance of frost and fog, I'd say particularly in southern and central parts of the UK. So all in all, it's a pretty mixed bag during the next couple of weeks, fairly typical autumnal weather. If you liked this video, please do remember to hit the subscribe button below so that you'll be informed when I publish future updates. Thanks now, bye.